Okay, FAQ number 72. I realize this is a controversial question, and certainly if you have young children, this is not an appropriate one, but this is a question that I was asked, and I'm not going to back away from it because it's embarrassing or something like this. It is a question, and a valid question, and that is masturbation a sin? Okay, now you're going to be most people are going to turn you to Genesis chapter 38. Let's go here. Genesis chapter 38 and verse 9. Okay, well actually we'll start at verse 8. And Judah said unto Onan, Go in unto thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his, and it came to pass when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also. So I've heard this thing, preachers will say, well, that's masturbation. That's self-pleasuring and things like that. No, it's not. That's actually birth control, okay, a form of birth control. He obviously was physically with this brother's wife there. Where does it say her name is? Shua, daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, okay? And this woman, Shua, he goes in, Onan goes into her, and he is sexually active with her, and instead of injecting his seed into her to form a child, he spilled it on the ground, okay? And the thing displeases the Lord because there's in the Old Testament, if a brother dies and he's got a wife, well, she's depending upon him, having offspring so that her name there and things and her wealth and everything can be preserved. If she doesn't have any descendants, that's a kind of a problem. So in the Old Testament, it was oftentimes a brother dies, okay, now take her, his wife, the brother's wife, your sister-in-law, and make her your wife. And now she's your responsibility. It's kind of a way of taking care of your family members and things like that. Okay, and now, I don't believe in that for today. That's not, this has passed away. But the point is, it's not that he goes in there and he's masturbating or something and spills it on the ground. That's not what's going on there. This was, so to use that to try and condemn masturbation, it doesn't work. Okay, go in your New Testament to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Okay, 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Okay, now again, I've heard people try to say that masturbation falls under the realm of fornication. No, it doesn't. Fornication is flesh joining flesh, outside of the bounds of marriage. Again, it's not the same thing as fornication. But it's very clear here. Let's continue. Verse 8, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 8. I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. So there's no thing in there saying, Paul's saying, okay, if you're single and you're burning, well then just pleasure yourself, and that way that gets rid of the burning. Because ironically, it doesn't. Okay, if you are a single person and you are burning with lust, and you take your way out of that thing is through masturbation, it's not going to take care of it. It might temporarily, but it's just going to get worse and worse. And let me show you the problem with that. Turning your Bible to James. James chapter 1. James chapter 1 verse 13. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust, and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Okay, if you are getting into masturbation and you are a single person in your teens or whatever else, I can guarantee you that the masturbation is accompanying pornography or some kind of pornographic images or something like that. And even if you don't have it right there, it still is lust in your mind, and that lust is going to get worse and worse and worse. The nature of perversion is you have to continually do things more and more perverse to get the thrill. And so you might start out looking at soft-core pornography, but as time goes by and the masturbation addiction gets worse and worse and worse, you're going to have to go through more and more hardcore types of pornography to get the same thrill that you once did with the softcore stuff. Masturbation is self-destructive. It's not just some kind of a little fly there, excuse me. Springtime, it's little flies coming out. But masturbation is not some kind of just a simple, basic little thing that single people can do, and it just takes care of the problem, and then you're fine for a long time. It doesn't work that way. Masturbation is a selfish act, and if you're having problems with lust and burning, I suggest that you listen to the pornography epidemic thing if you are addicted to pornography. And I mean, it's a very, very difficult thing. And I understand right now, sexual lust is at an all-time high. I mean, it's insane. The subliminals that we live under. Going to the store, there's so many sexual subliminals. There's all over television and music. Heavy beat and things. I mean, you can be totally innocent and try to avoid this stuff, and it's just going to be, you're going to be bombarded with it. And I mean, we're heading into summertime. I mean, I like living in a northern climate because, people dress, they cover themselves up for longer periods of the year. But man, you live down in Florida or California or someplace like that, where it's warm all the time, you're being bombarded with lust, issues of lust. And my best advice is, just study the Bible as much as you can. Stay away from pornography. And if you don't have a problem with lust and you don't really ever have a problem with masturbation or anything like that, well, really try to focus on serving the Lord with your life. But if you are burning with lust and really having problems there, you need to pray fervently. And I'm talking fasting and prayer. That God would provide you with a husband or a wife, and depending if you're a man or a woman there, obviously if you're a man, don't go after another man, because you're not going to help yourself there with lust issues. That's just being turned over to a reprobate mind. And it's funny because they actually burn in their lust. It talks about there in Romans chapter 1. But the point is, marriage is a very important thing. To avoid that life of being tempted to masturbate and tempted to look at pornography and just being enticed all the time. If you're just walking around just like an inferno of lust, just everywhere you go and it's being triggered and everything else, you need to really take some time to find that right person to get married, and make sure that they're saved, or if they're lost, lead them to the Lord, make sure that they're truly saved, read the Bible with them and stuff. If you see that there's definite fruits here that this person got saved, then, get married according to the will of the Lord there. But that's very important. And, when you get married and you have a proper relationship, let me look up one other verse. I'm trying to think of where this one's at. Let me look up a verse here really quickly. Okay. All right, got it. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. Okay, God will judge you if you have these sex problems and things like that, and if you're a porn addict and masturbating and all that stuff, you're under God's judgment. Okay, it's a bad place to be. But the fact of the matter is, when you get married, having a normal sexual relationship with your wife is totally fine and is far better than anything that you're ever going to experience in masturbation, because you're bringing pleasure to somebody else while bringing pleasure to yourself. It's not just this selfish thing of pleasuring yourself and being triggered by lust. So is masturbation a sin? Absolutely. Yes, it is. You're not going to be able to have a real good relationship with the Lord if you have a problem with masturbation. You need to, get that thing under control and get married.